Hey there, thanks for joining us at the Rabbit Hole of Research, where you'll learn a few facts that you can impress your friends with at a party.
Hey, welcome back to the Rabbit Hole of Research down here in the basement studio. You have me, Joe.
You got Nick, and we are actually not in the basement studio today, Joe. I don't know why you're lying to people.
We're in the basement studio.
We are in the TARDIS today.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez Louise, get it correct.
We're doing a video. No one will believe you, so...
Everyone knows it.
I'll have to go. There's no Georgia with us. She is not joining us
But
today.
we do have a special guest today.
We do have a special guest, and would you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Who's here?
Hey, everybody. I'm Tera.
Oh, hi, Tera.
Hi.
The doctor?
Dr. Tera.
Oh.
Like Doctor Who.
So, not a real doctor, but... Wait, are you a real doctor?
No, I am a PhD, yes.
Oh, okay.
I was like, how do you define real doctor?
Doctor Who? I'm pretty sure he says he's not a real doctor. It's just a title.
Like
That
Dr.
is
Dre.
true.
Yeah. Wait, no. He
But
does
he's
have...
more than Dr. Dre. Oh, I'm going to get some hate for that. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the reasons why my license... Maybe I shouldn't say what my license was.
Yeah, let's not... I got...
You have to bleep that out.
But yeah, so today we're going to talk about some of the science or other things about Doctor Who. Who's who and Doctor Who? I don't know. I've been toying with that for a while.
We did do a quick who's who in Doctor Who earlier.
That
Yeah,
is
Doctor
kind
Who.
of the obvious way to go, Joe.
Sometimes the obvious way is the
Not
best
the
way.
best way.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I have a little... I'm not going to start with the list.
He has an agenda.
I do. I have a little intro, and then Tara can correct or add anything I get
Now,
wrong.
Aren't we supposed to talk about our beers?
Oh, we've been actually doing that at the end of the episode
that's
lately.
right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You did your homework on the
I
episode.
did.
That was season 1.
I haven't been able to hear season 2 yet because my TARDIS is in the shop.
Well, yeah.
You are an expert on Doctor Who, correct?
Compared to you two, yes.
It's not us you got to impress, though.
That is true. And it is hard to be an expert in Doctor Who. It's been on TV for over 50 years. Plus, they have audio adventures, comics,
Let's
I think animated. There's a lot of
segues
lore.
right into, because I have my Doctor Who is a long-running British sci-fi series that follows the adventures of the Doctor, a mysterious time-traveling alien. As the Time Lord, the Doctor has the ability to regenerate, changing appearance and personality when mortally wounded, which is a unique storytelling device that has kept the show fresh since its debut in 1963. That was before I was born. The
Really?
Doctor
Wow. Can I curse? Damn.
The Doctor travels in a TARDIS, which stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space, which is a sentient, dimensionally transcendent ship that looks like a 1960s British police box on the outside, but is vastly larger within.
Do you know why it looks like a police box?
Because it blends in everywhere.
It has a chameleon circuit, and that was when it started. It blended in really well because it was in the 60s in England, and he just became attached. And he says it's also broken, but I think he's just attached.
Yeah.
Other TARDISes do actually
Other things.
to blend into their surroundings.
And how many other TARDISes are there right now? I believe I thought he was the last of his kind. Was that...
Yes and no. So how much
mistaken?
spoilers?
It's
So
got
when the
50
show
years.
started, he was not the last Time Lord. Gallifrey existed. There was the High Council. I've been through old Who, classic Who.
No, old
And
Who is what we call it
Gallifrey
now.
is
His home
the
planet.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I've been through as much as I can watch of that. Some of the episodes have been lost, so you can't find them anymore. So I have watched all of the old ones. But yeah, he had his whole planet and race, and the whole Time War didn't really happen until New Who started.
Which
then if you-
started with Christopher Eccleston, correct?
Yes.
Cool.
Such a shame he only had one season.
I know. He was the one I started with, and I absolutely loved it.
It was a personal conflict, and
Yeah.
And to put it in perspective, I had some dates because of the classic Who origin.
Yes,
But I had
I'm sorry,
from
go ahead.
1963 to 1989 was the origins and classic era is what I found. We had the wilderness years, and that's where you had all these audio dramas, comics, all this other media tie-ins.
I love it
And
called
then
the Wilderness Years. I was like,
looked it
oh
up and it
man,
was
they
like-
just have them in
It's when
the.
we went camping.
I'm putting my list together, and it was like the wilderness years. I was like, okay. And then there's the modern revival, 2005 to the
So you missed the movie. The Americans sadly tried to reboot
that's
Doctor
their
Who
movie.
Forgot about
with
that.
the Eighth Doctor, which is the only thing I
there was
have
a TV
not.
movie. I
Yes.
do have it. In
It's the only thing I haven't
1996
watched. I need to find it.
In 1996, the TV movie starring Paul McGann as the
McGann, yeah.
English Eighth Doctor attempted to revive the series but failed to launch a new era.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I was skipping along. Modern revival there, 2005 to the present.
Which they call New Who.
The new Who. Well, there it is.
So like the band, the New Who.
That reminds me of a story. So I have a tattoo of the TARDIS. And when I went to get it, I was at the tattoo convention in Chicago. And I'm just looking around at art styles I like, trying to decide if I knew that's what I wanted. Is there someone here I want to do it with? And I went up to one of the last booths that we walked past. And this guy who was older was like, oh, what are you looking to do? And I was like, oh, I really want to get the TARDIS. And I was like, from Doctor Who. And he's the band. And it's like, no. And then actually the artist who did it was much younger and was like, that's that phone box thing, right? And I'm like, okay, close enough. But he had a tattoo that I loved. And so he did it in the style of that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah. Are you a fan if you don't have a tattoo?
Yeah.
Man, it's not that-
There's a lot of fandoms I
Yeah.
don't have tattoos of.
Yeah.
I
So
have
it's like a
stupid
goal in
tattoos.
Do you have a tattoo?
Yeah, I got a few.
Joe doesn't
I
have
don't have
any.
a tattoo.
Joe, you remember I flashed you on one of the episodes?
I
I
don't,
didn't know it was that kind of party.
don't remember that.
You even brought it up. You're like,
It wasn't
you
memorable,
flashed
Nick.
me on this.
Maybe. We didn't have video then, so it didn't happen.
We still don't have video now. I can do it again. I can do it again and no one's going to know.
But do you have Mardi Gras beads?
I know. Maybe somewhere. But yeah, so the show is this interesting blend of science fiction, some horror and psychological themes. Touches on speculative physics, time travel, paradoxes, quantum mechanics, multiverse theory, and reinterprets folklore, mythology, similar to our podcast, through a scientific lens. And the moral dilemmas, ethical interventions, and the consequences of rewriting time. And so we had a time travel episode in our first season, and we touched on Quantum Leap, which also had this kind of idea and probably was inspired by Doctor Who, but that is something that
I still have other problems with Quantum Leap. We've been over this.
there were other. You go check that episode out. We're not going to rehash the issues of Quantum Leap, in particular the consent issue and things like that.
It's a major problem.
So I'm too young to have watched Quantum Leap, but yet we're talking about a show that started in 1963. So
There was a Quantum Leap reboot. It was
There
just,
was,
it's just
but I heard it
like
wasn't
last year.
good, I
I
thought.
didn't watch it.
It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. But it just recent
Yeah.
history. Yeah. But yeah, I said.
Another thing, I was trying to remember what year it was, and I was like, what
see, this
year
is
are
why you
we
need
in right
video.
now?
Nick is very pensive right now.
Yeah, I know. He's there.
It's a constant look on my face. No one
That's
gets to
just
see it. I'm just like, when are we?
Ooh, good question.
Who are we or when are we?
When are we?
It's a very good question to ask when you walk out of the TARDIS.
Exactly. Like we did. See, Joe, I told you.
Yeah, we're in the TARDIS. We haven't walked out. That's what you said.
Yep.
You got to stay consistent.
I think
If
it
you'll
would be bigger.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a little small in here.
Did you get rid of the swimming pool?
We only have so much in the rabbit hole of research budget. So in the time travel episode, we talked about some paradoxes and a little more into physics. But like I said, this season, I'm talking a little more biology because I'm a biologist. And so I'm not sure if either of y'all have thought of the biological effects of time travel. Like we always think about how time travel would work. Can it work? Should it work? But what would happen if one did time travel? And I know the Doctor is special, maybe his race of people on his planet, they have some special abilities, but there are.
Yeah, I mean, he takes a lot of humans from modern London with him on his travels.
Yeah. The companions. Is
Yes,
that what
the
they're
companions.
called? Okay,
Classic Who had a lot more diversity in his companions with other species besides humans.
Okay, that's that type of diversity, not
Yes. Oh, back in the 60s.
stopping in the hood, picking up somebody.
Yeah, there's a couple episodes that you're just like, wow. And there's one serial where they have a disclaimer at the front because it's very insensitive.
Oh,
Well, there you go.
I don't know this one.
No video.
That's
One of the ones I was thinking about is the circadian rhythms. Our bodies have circadian rhythms that kind of regulate sleep. It's usually on a 24-hour cycle. Hormone releases, body temperature, metabolism changes. They all correspond to the cycle that you can map, and it's difficult to break. You can, and it's usually tied to health and outcomes. And so one thing when you travel across time zones, jet lag, so a lot of people feel how that can affect you. So it'd be interesting that if you're time traveling now, how would that affect you? Would you have some sort of temporal kind of lag to your circadian rhythms, or is this if you leave at 5 p.m. 1986 and 5 p.m. 2025, are you okay? Like your circadian rhythms are just going to sync back up. It's interesting. No one ever talks about things like that.
And also, too, it's not just 5 p.m. on Earth. It could be some p.m. that more than a 24-hour clock on some
Yeah, because some planets have
500,000 years in the future.
Right. And also the planet could have faster rotation, so
Right.
does that affect your circadian rhythm? Still should be tied to that, but it's going to be your biological clock could get thrown off.
I was thinking about that when I would read The Martian, and it's just slightly off from Earth, the Martian soul. And how does that affect? Like, to me, I would be like, yes, I have an extra hour to do stuff.
Yeah. Would you?
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably would procrastinate for an extra hour. It's like that extra hour would not do me any good.
Right. But the light dark cycle would no longer match up an hour off, but it would no longer match up with your own internal clock. And that could cause these schedule mismatches.
Have they done Have they done human experimentation on that? But
I feel like they have.
But 25 hours I'd be surprised if someone like NASA hasn't found willing volunteers to give that a try. If we're going to travel to, wouldn't you isolate them and try to reset their circadian clock?
I guess you could. Yeah, maybe.
NASA,
And how do
I am
they-
willing.
Yeah. No, for a sandwich and a suit.
Yes, that's all I need.
And maybe just to feel weightlessness once.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, there it is.
that's just a plus. That suit.
That suit. That's right. Yeah. But it's probably sleep studies where they've done that, because that's probably the big
Right.
thing that's going to get screwed up. Stress responses, like how the Doctor in the episodes I've watched, he seemed very chipper. Is that very upbeat and positive?
So every doctor has his own personality or her own personality, depending on which iteration of the doctor you're getting. But mostly his. And yeah, there's, especially in Classic Who, there were a few who were very brusque, very cranky may not be the right word, but
That's probably because
Brash.
yes, brash, thank you.
their sleep was disturbed. They probably weren't.
Who woke me
That's
up?
right. Yeah.
I just went to bed.
Like, yeah, what's happening out there? What year am I in? What's happening? Yeah. Another thing I had was, and we talked about this with speedsters, but people don't talk about it though, is like kind of DNA changes in telomere length and cellular aging as you travel. How does that affect your body as you go and your cells?
I could imagine you'd be exposed to different types of radiation, different suns.
Right? That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
The one question I always had was diseases. If you're coming from an age with like the Black Plague and you just leave it and you're like, oh, did you just infect a whole new generation with this?
Yeah. Yeah. That was Connie Willis, her series, I can't think of the name right now, but they were time travelers. They had a time kind of device or machine, and they could go back. And that was something they had to do, is to
Get your
get the
vaccines.
vaccines that would protect you at that time. And it was really interesting because the one book was The Black Death was one of the, was it? To Say Nothing of the Dog. I'm going to say that was the title. I probably have to look it up. I have this device here. I can do that, but
If only I had access to
right, yeah.
anything I wanted.
It's a weird thing.
But yeah, no, disease and traveling, but also traveling to new places, right? Because you could be a carrier of something, and that was in Doomsday Book was the title of that one. To Say Nothing of the Dog was in the series, but yeah, the Doomsday Book was the one I was thinking about. And I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, just go read it. It's fun. It's 92, so I guess I could spoil it per the rules of the show. But
Yeah.
the twist is fun, so I'm gonna let it go and say that it follows maybe Nick's thinking.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've watched the show for a while. It's just, that is something I feel like they don't ever address because it takes you out a little bit. You're just like,
Right.
oh yeah.
The TARDIS protects you.
But like once you exit,
But he gets out, right? It's like the
Yes and no, but you have the new QAnon energy that you retain from the travel. The same way when you're walking about a new planet, the TARDIS translates all languages
yeah.
to modern English.
to
Modern
whatever
English.
you understand.
It was kind of like the Babelfish, right? That was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh,
The Babelfish.
I forgot about that.
You got to make it work if you're going to visit other planets. You got to have translators or something.
That seems like so much work.
But it'd be cool.
It would be neat. Almost got it. But yeah, with that DNA, the telomere length, but you also have other things, just cellular division, cellular repair, as you're going through these time loops or anything like that. How does that affect? Tara, you brought up radiation, oxidative stress. You go on this new planet, these things could happen. And, what's the repair mechanisms? Is there something in the TARDIS? In this case,
Right.
that would give you some restorative. The doctor can regenerate. We can touch on that a little bit, but it is some interesting things. Yeah.
I do always wonder, what are the actual properties that the TARDIS gives you? Will it cure your cancer while you're in the active space of it? And once you stop traveling with the doctor, does it just, cancer's full power again?
Yeah.
Right. I know it's supposed to give you something, but it's to what extent? Tara, do you have any ideas with that one? Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot for that
No,
one.
I'm just trying to think.
Sure.
So the one thing I'm thinking of is the actress Elizabeth Sladen, who played Sarah Jane Smith. She passed away in real life from breast cancer. And as part of the lore, she's actually passed away, even though she was a companion for the third and the fourth Doctors. Yeah. And so they've addressed it a little bit that way. Like, I think it still is possible, especially once you've left the TARDIS. But it's an interesting thing to think about while you're there.
Yeah, does have, as you say, the ability to change the language to something you understand and be able to survive the transfer of time and space. So it's all right. This thing can help people live, even though it's a human going onto it as a companion instead of.
Yeah. Speaking of language, do they be able to speak the language? Is that translated? Is it both ways? You can understand and effectively speak, because there is like dialects and.
Yeah, they talk about how it like gets
Accents
inside of you, and then because in David Tennant's first episode, is it called Christmas Invasion? So basically, it's right after he regenerated from Christopher Eccleston, and he is kind of wiped out, and Rose is freaking out because she's wasn't really aware that this was going to happen, and she brings him home, and her mom and her and Mickey are taking care of him, but then the aliens come. And they're speaking, and because he's in such a bad place, the TARDIS is not functioning properly, and it's not translating. And as he awakens, it begins translating, and they're like, "You're speaking English," and he's, "I would never speak English." And she's, no, you are. You're speaking English. And he's, I'd never put that nasty language on my tongue. That's when they realize the doctor's okay. And so it's, for sure they're translating him, but
yeah, it's like you go.
I would assume they'd translate back. Otherwise, how would they understand?
Yeah. But you have your native language or your first language. And then if you happen to learn a language later, especially later in life, usually your pronunciation, certain like rolling R's in Spanish, things like that just aren't as smooth or as fluid no matter how hard you try. Or people that come to America and live here and immigrate here, that they don't always get all of the sounds and the pronunciations correct. So that is interesting that you would translate that way, that it's a very natural, fluid. And I guess to show if you just make everyone have a British accent or that it works. But you think about it, they're supposed to be speaking a different language that everyone understands it as, oh, this is the perfect dialect. It's even if you go around America, there's places, you go to Appalachia, you go down south, you go out west, you come from Philly, my accent is different than
you're
people
from
picking up.
Philly?
Oh my gosh. But yes.
I feel like you've mentioned it on a few episodes already.
Yes. We were talking about health consequences of time travel. And to the next point, when you go in, do you get reset or whatever? But I was thinking if you're a woman, your reproductive health there, because all of your...
So someone actually gets pregnant on the TARDIS.
I was going to ask that. What happens? Especially in terms of time travel, because now you have all these effects moving forward, but you're...
Which kind of gave her the baby. Oh, that's a good arc. You've got to watch that.
I'm going to spoil it.
But it does give the child some special powers because they were conceived on the TARDIS.
Yeah. So some epigenetic kind of changes or things like that happen. Interesting. Yeah. I was wondering about that.
Wait, hold on. I think I missed this.
Now, did they get pregnant in the TARDIS, or were they outside the TARDIS and just happened to go back in the TARDIS?
I'm going to assume... So the couple was traveling with the doctor.
In the TARDIS. So they snuck off into the very large...
They all have bedrooms. There literally is a pool. Library.
Yeah. So all right.
You just don't see much of it. You saw more of it in Classic Who. You don't see quite as much of it now.
It's like a holodeck almost.
In
the new stuff.
Oh.
I think I would never leave the holodeck. If I was on Star, why would you do anything?
Why do you do anything?
Why would you do anything?
To go make babies on the TARDIS.
No, right. Just gonna do that in the holodeck.
They're newlyweds. Of course they're going to go make...
Who cleans the holodeck?
That's a good question.
It's got to be.
It's a living thing. It probably takes a shower.
I don't think the holodeck's a living thing.
No, the TARDIS.
Oh, TARDIS, right. Yeah. No, yeah, that one.
The holodeck.
Yeah.
They got people for that.
But back to the... That's a different episode. We're mixing our streams here.
All is related.
Yeah. You touched on the TARDIS is sentient. We were telling about that when the doctor came. He got revived. And he was season 4 doctor. I don't know, do you go by seasons? How do you announce the doctors?
Numbers.
Like season 4, Doctor 4?
No.
The iteration.
What's the...
It's like per actor.
Like David Tennant is the 10th Doctor.
Oh, he's the 10th Doctor. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so the 10th Doctor, you said when he was revived, he was out of it. But then the TARDIS was out of it. Are they linked in some way? Because it's a sentient being, so wouldn't they...
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a little...
Yeah, it's... There's a fun episode for the 11th Doctor where they end up on this like trash planet, and
with Jeff Goldblum.
No, but it should be. That would be so cool. And the TARDIS becomes humanoid form, and it's really cool to see that and see how much he loves his TARDIS. It's funny.
Was it still bigger on the inside? Come on, you set me up with that one.
And that's when we need video.
That's when I need video. That's it. So,
Please leave comments asking for video.
Video. Yep. Cool.
So I feel like Doctor Who does this very often where the lines of science and magic are blurred. Where it's a magical thing, but they're explaining it through their lens of science. And
when you have aliens and all these things, it makes it a lot easier when you've had one being have met most alien life forms. It's easy enough to talk about, like the Shakespeare episode. And they had the alien villain back then. People thought they were witches. And their thing was words have power. And so it appears with witchcraft. But basically, it's their science is words have power. And so that's how they put things into being.
Yeah. There was what was that? Steven Spielberg. He had, was it Amazing Stories? And it was one about the little kid who would just say things and then it would come true. That was
that sounds familiar.
Reality. Yeah, I think it was in a movie. Was it? He had a movie like Amazing Tales, or I can't remember now.
That I can't say I know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll throw that in the show notes. But yeah, something else that was interesting, and it came up in reading and looking into the Doctor as a character. But one thing was that the Doctor is a trickster, like a Loki kind of character. Let's put it in our MCU kind of framework. But yeah, you have all these traits that they have, this archetype of the trickster, that they're sage, they're a wanderer, a reluctant hero. In mythology, which a Doctor Who seems to pull a lot on and pull through some of these scientific things through this kind of mythology. It's often chaotic, kind of disrupts the status quo, bending rules, using intellect over brute force. And that feels like the problem solving that the Doctor employs on the shows and episodes and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was just really an interesting point.
Yeah, I never thought of putting him as like a Loki.
Me neither.
But it's I like that analogy for him. It works a lot because
it's actually interesting in the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is a spin-off when Sarah Jane left the Doctor and she had her own series. There actually was a villain called the Trickster.
Interesting. Doctor Who has an enemy that's another Time Lord. Is that the Time Master? Okay, yeah.
Just the Master.
Not the Time Master. Does he have a TARDIS also? Or is
he does, yeah.
And what is its shape?
It varies depending on where he's at.
He's kept his chameleon gene active.
Yes.
Okay, got it. We got it. Yeah. But, yeah, no.
I thought you were going somewhere with
that. I'm just asking you questions. I'm just here.
And so when you said, isn't he the last Time Lord? That's the first example in New Who where he's not the last. The Master still exists. Okay. And then as you go forward even more, I don't know, can I spoil it? Am I within the time?
Yeah, why not?
He finds out that basically he thinks he destroyed all the Daleks and all of the Time Lords to save all of existence from the Time War. And it turns out he took Gallifrey and hid it away so that all of the Time Lords were still alive. But he couldn't know that. He did that, but it was done so that he could save them and stop the Time War.
Wow.
I always feel like saying it's the last of something is always such a, like,
the
Last Jedi.
That's right, yeah.
It's
not the last. No. It's just a lie at that point.
It's a storyline setup to let you know. Hint, hint, not.
Yeah. Let's look over here to last. No.
Even the saying that Superman's the last Kryptonian. He's not.
No.
Was he the last samurai?
No.
See?
I don't think so.
It's always something. It's, you're not.
Sometimes
the last.
it's a change of tradition, things like that, where it's the last of
the ideal.
The idea, and at this point in time, it's the last. But something else is going to birth out of that. That's still that thing. The thing I just looked at, the thing, because you would technically be the thing. You would not be the last thing. But I wonder if the Doctor ever interacted with the thing. That'd be interesting.
That'd be a fun crossover.
Would he not know? Maybe the TARDIS would know. Can the TARDIS be infected by the thing?
Okay, that sounds terrifying. I've not actually seen the thing.
Oh,
how? You've known Joe for how long?
All I know about the thing is what Joe likes to talk about with the thing. It's kind of like...
So you've seen the movie.
Right. It's kind of like Predator. I've not seen Predator, but I know if it bleeds, I can kill it.
Yes, that's right. It's a whole little musical.
It is. I can sing it. I won't.
Oh.
Please?
Yeah.
No.
We had singing on the last episode.
We did.
You guys sang?
No,
I didn't say we sang.
No.
Our guest sang.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that going to be our new tradition to get the guests to sing?
That's it.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. We can settle the score. And that's all you're getting.
We'll put that on the show notes.
That'll be actually hidden
the
behind
link
our
should be
paywall
there.
of just Patreon.
That's right. Yeah, we'll cut all these out.
If you really want to hear me sing,
That's it.
and we'll get the video and Nick will interpretive dance.
Always. That's just me randomly moving in general. But, all right, I do have some more questions
Yes.
about the Weeping Angels.
Yes.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
gonna
the
bring that up.
angels.
The observer effect.
Right? So, I've trying to put these questions into actual formed sentences. But
That would be helpful. Then.
We don't have the TARDIS to translate.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Nick speak.
What if I just do random sign language at people?
Yeah.
But what is their state when they're not? Are they able to look at each other? Or
So they're not, don't you? So did you watch Blink?
yes, but it's been years.
I watched
And you
that
just
one. I
watched
watched it,
Blink.
yes.
And so at the end of Blink, the TARDIS goes off and does its TARDIS thing and disappears, and they're all now looking at each other. So the four of them can't move.
Move. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like
So it's interesting because we had the simulation episode and we talked about this kind of observer effect with the slit experiment, where you had
What experiment?
the double slit experiment. No. It's a famous experiment that demonstrates that
your eyes.
that's what it's called. That demonstrates that light is both a wave and a particle. They had the slit, and then you shoot the particles, the
That's
photons.
one word I really don't like. It's like some people don't like panties or moist. I don't like slit.
I don't know. It's what it's called. All right. I'm not. Let's. And so when you do the experiment, you have one slit. I don't. You have one slit, you get one line pattern. But then when you have two slits, you would imagine you would get two lines, but you get multiple lines, and that means that it's both can be a particle and a wave, a photon, electron. And then, but if you observe it, if you actually have a detector there, and it's that's now being observed, it will collapse. The waveform will collapse into just a particle. So you just get the two slit patterns. So really interesting. So it's this idea, Schrodinger cat, famous thought experiment about this observer effect. Once you observe it, then you lock something in position. And so the Weeping Angels, yeah, they were, sounds like a band, like Jimi Hendrix song or something.
We're gonna start a band.
Yeah, that's it.
Can we be the Weeping Angels? That sounds great. I'll play the tambourine.
But then you would have that effect that once it's observed, and you lock it into a state.
Right.
And that was and when you look at them, they're locked in a statue state, and then when you look away, they are.
Oh, that's totally the angels.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's this idea, like Nick was touching on, that it's science being forced through this kind of very fun, way
Lens.
of pop culture and sci-fi, fantasy, and pop culture, like the rabbit hole of research.
Wow, you're trying to plug our podcast on our podcast.
In case you haven't heard, there's this great podcast.
Please tell your friends. But like after they leave, since no one else is watching them, would it be possible for them to move along?
They're watching
But,
themselves.
Like, they're watching themselves.
Yeah.
They've never come in contact with a mirror. They've never come in contact with another one of themselves. It's like,
They can watch each other. They just can't stare at each other.
yeah. See,
You can't make eye contact. I guess they're observing them. If they're observed, then the mirror worked. They didn't move when the mirror was there, because they were mirrors in the episode, I believe. And they were frozen in place.
yes, but it wasn't by themselves, right?
Yes, they never observed themselves.
Yeah, that's the part where I'm like,
But if they do observe themselves, then they can't.
so now those things are just gonna die there.
Yeah.
I guess, unless someone moves one. If you turn it
Right.
or it falls over, there's an earthquake and they
Especially a
topple over.
person.
Yep.
If a person doesn't know what it is, they think they're these weird
Right.
statues. They decide to take one.
They didn't put a note on it or anything. It's a little dangerous, that doctor.
That is, yeah.
I mean, because that's...
But they could also, they feed on the people sending them back in time, because there's actually a later episode where there's like this hotel and they basically cyclic people into, they come in, they see themselves when they're about to die, and then they're stuck there, and then they wait until their next self is about to come back. And so it's this weird time loop where they're feeding off that energy.
Oh.
That's interesting.
You got to keep watching Doctor Who.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Joe.
Keep watching Doctor Who out there. Keep watching the Who. Who's Who and Doctor Who.
With Blue's Clues?
I'd rather watch Bluey.
I love Bluey.
I like
Bluey
Blue's
too.
Clues. I never watched Bluey.
Can we do a Bluey episode?
The Science of
my
Bluey.
gosh.
Bandit is an archaeologist. Jeez Louise.
Archaeologist.
He is.
Get it? Because he's a dog that digs bones.
Yeah. Bum, 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 bum.
Wah.
I don't know why you didn't love that one, Joe.
It's all right. It's there.
That's a joke. But what are your top 5 episodes?
Oh, okay. My favorite episode is Vincent and the Doctor, by far. Makes me cry every single time. It's great. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Love it.
But as I said, it's been a minute. That was with David Tennant, right? No, Christopher Eccleston. No?
Matt Smith.
Damn. I was like, I know it's the new Who.
It is the new Who.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember the name of the episode now, but it's the one with the 12th Doctor. And he's also stuck in this loop. He's been put into... My words are failing me. I feel like a bad fan right now. He's basically been captured into this disc that Time Lords have. And he's cycling through the same exact day, solving these puzzles. And he eventually punches through this large diamond wall. And that's how he finds Gallifrey again. It's a great episode.
So it's
Event,
like the
maybe?
thing where...
Did you say Vincent and the Doctor was? So I actually have your list here.
Oh, okay.
You gave it to me.
Blink is
Heaven
amazing.
Sent was the one there. The Rings of
Tan. Akatan. Yeah, that's a great
the
episode.
Library.
The library. I know that one.
Yes, that's a great series too.
The Empty Child.
The Empty Child is really creepy. That's a Christopher Eccleston one. Are you my mummy?
Oh, okay.
And
That
you
one's
said,
a little terrifying.
Christopher Eccleston had the darker of the... Yeah.
But he, with his... Oh, he's bringing banana to a party, Rose.
And then Rose was the...
So Rose is the first one. It's the very first episode for New Who. And it is beyond cheesy. So I tell people it's a great place to start. Lots of people like to skip Eccleston and start with David Tennant. And I always recommend not to, because Eccleston has some great stories and he's just amazing as the Doctor. But the first couple episodes are a little rough. You've got Rose, where Mickey eventually turns into this plastic Mickey, and the effects are so horrible because their budget was so tiny. But
so rebooting the whole thing. Yeah.
That's been like
having
all
fun
of Who,
with it?
though.
Yeah.
oh no, it gets so much better though. Like that Titanic scene is way better than plastic Mickey.
Like, I don't know. I don't even...
Then they had the
Farting aliens. There it is.
Slitheen from Rexicoricofallapatorius. And so it was a little rough, but he's just so good.
Yeah. Christopher Eccleston, I definitely enjoyed a lot. I wish there was more of his.
Yes. David Tennant's my favorite, but
Yeah.
Eccleston would be if he had more seasons.
I think I ended on Matt Smith. I want to say I didn't get all the way through his run, but I did end with Matt Smith. I haven't gone further. How is...
Oh, 12 is amazing.
12 was the lady?
No, that's 13.
13.
12 is...
I know the guy. I seen his face.
I know. It's anybody's ever had perimenopause brain, you know what I'm going through right now.
Oh, yeah. I have that every other week.
Why can't I think of his name?
Joe,
I can see
what's his
his
name?
face.
I don't know what his name is. We need Jim Sergey here. He was on top of the names of actors.
He was.
Yeah,
I was
he was.
pleasantly surprised by that.
Yes, it was nice. Georgia might know.
Peter Capaldi. I got it before I looked it up.
There it is.
But yeah, I haven't gotten to them yet.
Really good. His first season, the writing's a little rough, and he starts off grumpy, but he evolves really well.
So was he as comical as Matt Smith? I feel like
No, he's
Matt
not
Smith
goofy.
came off very goofy, very
Yes.
fast. Custard and fish sticks. Yep, that was the.
It's interesting because Matt Smith is very goofy, everybody refers to him as like the Tigger of the trio. But his monologues are amazing. And when you make him mad, it's watch out.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, Capaldi's kind of a little standoffish at first, but he really just becomes like this. I don't want to say lovable grandpa. You just love him.
And he's a grandpa to you.
He's older.
Because, yeah, I do plan on going through and watching their seasons, but I just have not gotten to it.
And I will say, so I've seen all of the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. I almost said Jodie Foster. Jeez.
Yeah, Jodie Whittaker, Jodie Foster, and Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
They've been in a couple movies together. At least one.
I think we were going to say a relationship together. I was going to be like, that would be real
I thought
weird.
you were going to say if they had a baby, they'd have.
In the TARDIS.
In the TARDIS. And then I've seen the 3-episode where David Tennant came back and then Ncuti became the next Doctor. But I haven't seen his next episode yet. It's on my list.
Yeah. I'll have to get around to that. 'Cause, yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things where when you read reviews about it, everyone's like, it's not that good, the writing's not that good. But it's kind of like Star Wars fanboys. Nobody's ever happy.
Yeah, that's just fanboys in general. Never pleasing.
No, everyone's got complaints.
I got complaints.
You wouldn't be a fan if you didn't. What you appreciate in there.
But I think what Tara and I were talking about before we recorded was how the costumes and art design of the characters really gave a good gateway for cosplayers. And I think that's what helps drive the fandom of Doctor Who, because you can go purchase, $100 worth of stuff from like Home Depot and be like, oh yeah, I can make a cosplay for this.
Right.
Yeah, you just get a whisk and a plunger and I'm a Dalek.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
I always love that bathroom sign where it's like the men, the women,
and
then the shower, but it looks like a Dalek.
Yep. But
No. The other thing kind of touch on are the paradoxes in the Doctor Who episodes, like the bootstrap paradox where causality is its own effect. And so you have these kind of loops like that. Or the one was the Jinn particle. Do you read that one? And a Jinn is like a supernatural being.
a genie came from.
Like a genie. And so this is a temporal paradox in which an object or information with no origin can be described as a Jinn. And this term was coined in 92 by physicists Andrei Lazarev and Igor Novikov, who were inspired by the Jinn of the Quran. And this whole idea is that the Jinn can leave no trace when they disappear. And so a movie we talked about in our time travel, and you can think about other time travel movies have this happen, where an object has no origin. So you get this loop. And so in the movie Somewhere in Time, an old woman gives a watch to a playwright. And then that playwright later travels back in time, meets the same woman when she was young, and gives her the same watch that she'll give him later. And so essentially the watch has no origin. It's just now in this little loop that happens. And that's really always fascinating. Back to the Future with its issues. and in particular, it's the Chuck Berry, Johnny B. Good scene, which really is that song. And then the idea was that this around this time, rock and roll was really picking up, that this black musician got their music from a white teenager, which I'm sure it was just a little bit of fun, but
I was like, it's a little problematic, but
yeah, exactly. But that would create this kind of
a loop.
Also, that the song then would have no real origin, so it would just kid loop back around, because Marty went and learned it until he went and he heard the song, then he played it, and then Chuck Berry. So the song never really gets created by any. It's interesting when you think about a little mind twisting paradox there. But
I feel like the watch you could explain with the whole wibbly wobbly timey wimey
I
explanation.
think it's called hand wavium here in the basement studio. But yeah, sure. What was it?
Because
Wibbly wobbly?
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
That's why we say hand wavium.
Stuff.
Why? Because you can't say that?
I actually have shoes that say timey-wimey.
Yeah, timey.
But someone made the watch. The watch went to person A, and then person A went back to see person B, and then the watch was stuck in a cycle. But its cycle started originally.
Oh, it didn't. Because the woman, because it started, you're right, it started somewhere. But really, if you think it all the way out, he gave her the watch, which really she gave him. Like, it was just different times.
But
the
somebody
watch
had to get it first. And
that's
you
the
could,
whole thing. There is no first now.
I mean,
but
there
I think
is a
in
first,
Wibbly
but it
Wobbly,
just gets...
it's a string of entanglement. Like, you could say
once you
it
loop
came
it.
out and then it got caught in the loop.
But it has to start the loop somewhere.
The loop is a loop. It
Yeah.
doesn't have a start
The
now.
loop has a start.
No, it's like a circle.
Yeah,
it doesn't
you
have
draw a
It's
loop.
like a
You
lasso.
go like this.
You have the line
I
and
don't
then you have the circle.
lasso.
And then the line comes up and then it just...
Yeah, but once you're in a loop, then you forget about the lasso part. There is no
True.
lasso.
But there is... It just, you probably forgot about it. Because you've been cycling for so long.
It doesn't have, the origin's gone. Because
Well, it's just bad storytelling,
Who
then.
made it then? Was it made on the young person's side or was it made on the old woman's side? So once again, now
Well, it
you don't
depends
have...
which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Well, the egg came first. In terms of evolution, the egg would always have to come first because the chicken would be the next thing that's different than its parents, which laid the egg. So
It's very true.
the egg comes before the chicken. There you go. All right, moving on. Check
Now,
that off the list.
See?
Why
It's not
did
a
the chicken
circle.
cross the road then?
To get away from the hand waving. We'll put that in the show
To
notes.
go into the TARDIS.
It crossed the road to read the show notes.
So,
No, I wanted
question.
Okay.
For both of you, I guess, why do you think the Doctor has two hearts? Does it have any real value for a second heart?
I didn't even know the man had two hearts.
Joe,
I'm
Time
come
Lords
on,
have
man.
two hearts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's why whenever you see things that say heart Doctor Who, it's
Right.
always two hearts because he has two
I never
hearts.
saw that. Maybe I just thought someone made a printing mistake.
It's extra love for the Doctor.
Two hearts. I don't know why you would need two hearts. I don't know what his...
I mean, he's an
I
alien.
was going to say, I don't know what his home planet like. I mean, we have organisms on Earth that have multiple... Earthworms have 8 hearts, I think. They have multiple hearts. So I don't know what they're...
Are you trying to dissect a Time
The
Lord?
particulars.
Maybe.
How
If
are
I can
hearts-
find one,
how are the
I will
hearts
let you
arranged?
know.
Are they like...
They're both in the chest.
In serial
on
or
either
parallel?
side. They don't
Right.
talk about that I'm
Because-
aware of, but they definitely are in the chest and one side and the other.
The heart, its function is to pump blood. I'm not a cardiologist, but that's what I was taught in anatomy. Unless it has a different function, I guess, in the circulatory system. We don't know how's the other organs arranged in his body. That would be important to understand.
Tara, how
I
are
don't know.
Tara, come on.
Now I want to
Is
do
he-
an MRI of the Doctor.
Is he bigger on the inside?
Tara's currently losing it right now.
Tara's trying to behave.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was always one of those things. Does it have to like help in any way? Like I never
Yeah, I mean,
thought of the heart doing
when
anything other
one
than
of his
pumping.
hearts isn't working, he does feel it.
Yeah. I
And
wonder if
so it
there's-
does have
yeah.
a function. It's not just like redundancy in case one goes.
Interesting, yeah. I wonder if gravity is involved, right? You would have circulation issues if you were in these kind of dimensional bubbles or whatever.
But then you're constantly bringing companions, which
Only has one
don't
heart.
have
That's right.
two
Yes.
hearts. So it's, are you putting them in danger then?
Maybe it's something to do with the regeneration and cells need oxygen at much higher level. And
How many calories
speed.
will it cost to regenerate?
You should
Oh.
listen to the regeneration episode.
It's
But
a
what
full
yeah,
body
it's about- yeah, it's
regeneration.
the full body. We talked about that. So on the low end, you're in the 50,000 calories per minute. You're to regenerate.
I could totally do that with
Um,
milkshakes.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. So 100,000 Big Macs or something. 1,000 Big Macs, I think. 500 calories per Big Mac. Yeah.
Is that it? I thought there'd be more.
Yeah. That's what they say, man. I'm not going to question McDonald's website.
Do you have references?
I was going to say, we had but then for the transformation into a werewolf, there was somewhere in a couple hundreds of thousands of calories that you would need to make a full body.
Does a werewolf actually burn calories the same way a regular human does at the same speed?
Lauren, this is just regeneration, not their actual running, but you have a higher metabolism. It's all speculation. I haven't.
You're assuming that their cells are going to consume calories the same way, but now that you can be a shapeshifter. I guess their cells are based on human cells, so I'm gonna say that might be true. Yes, but they regeneration. They regenerate. They have healing kind of factors, so their metabolism could be a higher. Base metabolism could be higher, which would mean they need more calories, which that was in that episode. I think we talked about it. But this is not a werewolf episode. This is a time. No, but it does cover regeneration. I was
gonna bring one other thing I read. I saw it on Instagram, short, and it was about how Back to the Future is a tragedy. Or it was taught a tragedy.
Yep. Why? I think I just saw this too. Refresh my memory though.
So it was Eric Stoltz was originally cast to be Marty McFly. And then they did the reading. And then everyone was like laughing and very happy about the story. But Eric, he was like, oh, they were like, why aren't you happy? And he was like, oh, because this is a tragedy. And they were like, what are you talking about? It's like a comedy. And he was like, no, it's sad. He goes off. And then when he comes back, his family's different. He's gained material wealth, but his family's all different. His life is different. All the people in the world he knew is now completely changed. This is sad. And he said he couldn't get into playing this as a comedy. So they said, okay. So they got Michael J. Fox to do it, who had a more comedic take on it. But when you think about the story, it is a tragedy. Look what they did to Chuck Berry.
Yeah. But I think the Doctor feels that too, like with the whole, as he's traveling through and all the people who he's lost along the way, people who've sacrificed themselves for the greater good. They always say, oh, whenever the Doctor comes, trouble follows. It's more he looks for the trouble to help, but there's always consequences and loss, and that's hard.
Yeah, there would be more loss without him being there.
Which is why he continues to do it.
But does that fixing one loss and ripples to other losses? So is he like creating all of the ripples of trouble? That's why he finds them? Because he goes to places where trouble is brewing. That's the thing. But is he the precipitate?
Well, so it's interesting because he is a Time Lord. So they talk about things called fixed time points.
Right.
And as a Time Lord, you know what the fixed time points are. And then if there are other beings who come in and try to change those fixed time points, then he goes there to try to stop that.
But he's correcting something. He's trying to
wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
He's trying to keep something right. It's the quantum leap idea. I'm just using that because I've seen probably more of those. But he's trying to definitely. He's trying to keep a timeline correct. Right. That's his job. Yeah, right?
There's catastrophic events that occur when you change a fixed time point.
But there's some ethics there that you have to.
And there's even an episode where he's tired of the loss. And he tries to then prevent the loss by keeping someone alive. And then I am the Lord of Time, and I can change things and bend in time to my will.
But you can't. Time keeps on ticking into
which is also a great episode, The Waters of Mars.
Oh yeah, yep. I had that on my list here. Yeah, and it was under my ethics of time travel. The Waters of Mars. His arrogance in changing a fixed event leads to disastrous consequences. What I had for that episode. I'm on top of it.
He's on top of it, even though he's watched two, one of which was not one I told him to watch.
I will say that I watched some older Doctor Who because of when just growing up in my staying with my grandparents. So
do you remember any of it?
Sure.
Which Doctor was it?
I don't know. He had gray hair.
Was it in color or black and white?
I believe it was color. The TV could have been black and white. I'm not gonna. That's a trick question there.
What year was this?
1963.
No, it probably was like the either late 70s, early 80s. So I don't know. It could have been.
I think it was a black and white TV.
It was probably black and white TV. No, I'm almost certain that No, it was color. I think, or at least eventually it was color. Yeah, nonetheless. All right. Let's move on. All right. Any closing thoughts? Anything? What are you drinking over there?
Today, I am drinking Liquid Death Rest in Peach.
Rest in Peach.
And it's empty if you couldn't hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Echo.
And then I also have Two Brothers Amplifier. Also empty.
Two Brothers.
My gosh, how have you... I'm a slow drinker, and beer, like root beer, makes me burp a lot. So I'm only halfway through my can because I've had to lean back and...
Now you got to chug it at the end. 'Cause it's
See, I normally have more liquids because I finish them so fast.
Yeah. So what are you drinking there before you
I am
guzzle it
drinking
down?
Crown Brewing's Ignis Factus Pumpkin Ale.
That sounds timely wobbly or whatever.
Timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey.
And this pumpkin is a little terrifying.
It is. That's something the Time Lord has to deal with.
That could be a Doctor Who villain. And
What
what are
about
you
you,
drinking,
Joe?
Joe?
I have a more episode relevant beer, I think. Three Floyds, Irish style, red ale, Return of the Ancients.
Oh.
It's not normal. So that's it's reading the label.
I didn't say anything.
See, everything you say reminds me of a Doctor Who
Yeah,
episode.
see, I'm there. I came with the beer, like
Rest in Peach works too.
maybe. All right, then. Any final thoughts there on Doctor Who? Anything you missed or want to tell the good people out there?
Go watch it. It's great.
And where should they start? You said that.
Okay, in my opinion, you should start with Christopher Eccleston. Go in with an open mind, understand the first few episodes may be a little weird, but they're great. And you can find those currently on HBO Max, all the way up through Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. And then Disney Plus has taken over with Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor.
All right.
Cool.
Cool.
It's like a plug. I feel like Disney should be paying me now.
No, not a sponsor.
We're
Hashtag
trying.
not
We'll be there.
sponsored.
Yeah.
Come on, Liquid
We'll get there.
Death.
Yep. We got story ideas. We're there.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got me, Joe, here.
You got Nick.
We got Nick. Special thanks to
Thank you
Tara.
again for
Tara
showing
coming
up.
out and
Yeah. This
hanging
is
with
fun.
us in the basement studio.
Hopefully we didn't scare you too much.
No,
Yeah.
I'll talk about Doctor Who anytime. The fact that I
Yes.
sat and watched a little bit of Doctor Who with Joe was a bit mind-blowing. I've known Joe for almost 20 years now, and I finally got him to watch Doctor Who.
Now we got to watch The Thing and Predator. Catch you right up there.
I thought you wanted me to watch your favorite movie.
The
It's
Thing.
not those two. Or
Don't.
creepy movie, the sciencey movie. No, but we'll get to it.
And yes.
Fifth Element.
Oh, Fifth Element. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Fifth Element is. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
All
All
right.
right.
We went down multiple time holes.
That were bigger on the inside.
Or smaller on the outside.
Stay time relevant out there.
Bye-bye.
Love y'all.